There's something about the way Dante has been moving lately that just doesn't sit right with me, guys. And I'm telling you right now, if you've been watching closely, this whole thing with Rocco, Cullum, and Sidwell feels way darker than what the show is letting on at first glance. Because this no longer looks like a normal investigation. It feels like the beginning of a cover up and maybe even the birth of a dirty cop. Rocco has always been Dante's weak spot. Not just his son, not just family. Rocco is basically Dante's entire heart walking around outside his body. So when Dante quietly starts connecting the dots around Cullum, you can almost feel that switch happening inside him. That terrifying moment where a good man realizes the law might not protect the people he loves. And honestly, I think that's exactly where this story is heading. Because under normal circumstances, Dante would have arrested Cullum himself the second he uncovered evidence tied to Marco's murder. That's who Dante is supposed to be. The guy who follows procedure, the guy who believes justice matters. But this situation is way too personal now, way too messy. And the second Dante realizes his own son may have been the one who shot Cullum earlier, everything changes. That's the real twist nobody saw coming. Suddenly, Dante isn't protecting the law anymore. He's protecting Rocco. And if you ask me, that changes Dante into somebody we may barely recognize. What really caught my attention is the way Dante allegedly starts pulling Liz into this investigation. Even Britt somehow gets dragged into the shadows of this mess. That alone tells me Dante is already operating outside official channels. Because if this was just about solving Marco's murder, Dante could have gone straight through PCPD. But no, he's moving quietly, secretively, almost desperately. That makes me think Dante already knows the truth is explosive. And the deeper he digs, the worse it probably gets. Because now we're hearing there may be evidence that Cullum was directly responsible for Rocco's death. Not indirectly. Not accidentally. Intentionally. And if that's true, this story becomes absolutely brutal. Because Dante won't see Cullum as a suspect anymore. He'll see him as the man who destroyed his life. But here's where things get really dangerous. Cullum is also pressuring the police department to find the person who shot him. He wants answers. He wants revenge. And Dante already knows who pulled that trigger. His own son. You can almost imagine the panic setting in for Dante at that point. Because what's he supposed to do? Turn Rocco in? Watch his kid get arrested? Destroy his entire future? I don't think Dante can do it. I really don't. And that's exactly why this situation could push him over the edge. Because if Dante stays silent, he risks everything. The department starts asking questions. Cullum keeps pushing harder. Public pressure builds. The walls close in. And meanwhile, Dante is sitting on information that could destroy both his badge and his family. That's probably why the moment Dante uncovers evidence connecting Cullum to Rocco's death, he moves fast. Too fast! Not like a detective. Like a father out for blood. And this is where Sidwell enters the picture in a way that honestly gives me chills. Because Sidwell has already proven what kind of man he is. This isn't somebody who threatens people. Sidwell eliminates people. Quietly. Permanently. We already saw what happened with Eva. The body disappearing into the river wasn't just murder, it was a message. Then Dalton ends up dead too, and somehow Sidwell walks away untouched again. That's not coincidence anymore. That's experience. So when Dante potentially approaches Sidwell, I don't think it's random at all. I think Dante knows exactly who he's talking to. The scary part is Dante probably never directly asks Sidwell to kill Cullum. That would be too obvious, too dangerous. Dante's smarter than that. Instead, it looks like Dante may play one of the darkest psychological games we've ever seen from him. He talks about losing a son, about betrayal, about the pain of trusting someone who destroys your family. And maybe Dante never says the words out loud, but the implication is sitting right there between them. Cullum deserves to disappear. Honestly, that scene alone could become one of the most disturbing moments this show has done in years if they play it correctly. Because Sidwell doesn't need direct orders. Men like Sidwell survive because they know how to read weakness, rage, and desperation. And Dante, he's drowning in all three. What makes this even more twisted is that Sidwell may genuinely believe he's helping Dante. That's the creepy part. Dante might convince himself he kept his hands clean because technically he never asked for murder. But deep down, he knows exactly what kind of monster Sidwell is, which means if Sidwell goes after Cullum, Dante will carry that guilt forever. And I really think Sidwell will act. The moment Dante gives him that emotional opening, Sidwell could interpret it as permission. Maybe even loyalty. We could easily see Sidwell arranging a kidnapping instead of a public hit. Something brutal. Something quiet. Cullum vanishes for a day or two. People start asking questions. Then suddenly nobody can find him anymore. And if the rumors are true about Sidwell repeating the same river disposal method he used on Eva, wow, that becomes symbolic, almost ritualistic. Like Sidwell is sending another message to the entire city that nobody touches his circle without consequences. The terrifying thing is, Sidwell probably believes he's untouchable now. Why wouldn't he? 2 bodies already connected to him and no arrest. No conviction. No real consequences. If anything, he may think Dante's silence guarantees protection, especially if Dante starts intentionally looking the other way once Cullum disappears. That's where the dirty cop angle becomes unavoidable for me. Because maybe Dante doesn't pull the trigger. Maybe he never sees the torture. Maybe he never even hears the final details. But if he knowingly sets Sidwell loose on Cullum, that still makes him responsible. Maybe not legally at first, but morally, absolutely. And guys, I honestly think the show wants us uncomfortable here. Because Dante has always existed as one of the moral centers of this world. Watching him slowly compromise himself to protect Rocco could become heartbreaking. Not because he suddenly becomes evil overnight, but because we understand why he's doing it. That's what makes it tragic. If Dante were just corrupt, this wouldn't hit as hard. But this feels more like a father sacrificing pieces of his soul, one decision at a time. And I keep wondering if Liz or Britt eventually realize what Dante is really doing, because those two aren't stupid, especially Liz. She knows guilt when she sees it. If Dante starts unraveling emotionally after Cullum disappears, Liz may be the first person to notice something is horribly wrong. But by then, it may already be too late. And what if Sidwell becomes addicted to this arrangement? That's another possibility nobody's talking about enough. Once Sidwell realizes Dante is willing to bend morality for family, Sidwell suddenly has leverage over him forever. That's dangerous. Because now Dante isn't just hiding Rocco's involvement anymore. He's potentially hiding a murder orchestrated by a criminal, which means Sidwell could own him emotionally, psychologically, maybe even legally. And honestly, I can't shake this feeling that the writers are building toward Dante completely losing control of the situation. Because secrets like this never stay buried in Port Charles. Never. Somebody always talks. Somebody always slips. And if Cullum's body eventually surfaces, everything explodes. The department could turn on Dante overnight. Rocco's secret could come out anyway. Sidwell could betray Dante to save himself. And the worst part? Dante may realize too late that in trying to save his son, he became the very kind of man he spent his entire career fighting against. That's the kind of psychological spiral soap operas love to explore. And the saddest part is, Dante may believe he had no choice, but did he really? Or is this the moment where grief, fear, and revenge finally pushed Dante into becoming something far more dangerous than anyone expected?